morning, beautiful. It's lovely to be out here with you. It's windier than I was realising. We might have to go in a minute, but I'm going to show you the day because it's gorgeous. Look at that. There's little wisps of cloud on the sky. And there's a little bit of flower up on the Pahurakawa. Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Mike. Yeah, it's windier out here than I realised. Haven't been paying much attention. I was just walking and digesting my morning meditation, really. It was pretty amazing. Let's just go down underneath the clothesline. This is the garden. And we're sort of coming to the end of the summer fireworks display, if you know what I mean. There's still some things happening here. We've got some hebe flowers. If you can see them for the sun. There you go. They are purple, they are pretty. This is a New Zealand native. Let's get down here. That's better. This one's actually a cross because it should be that colour. But it's come out lighter, so this is one that's sprouted from seed, which happens because see the brown seeds there? That's a very early flower, and see how they all make seed heads. And there is the rosemary bush, and look, here's the nigella, nearly finished for the year, making its seed pods. It's quite lovely. Hi Monica, it's lovely to see you. And there is one that's truly browned off. Look at that, isn't it amazing? Good morning, Julian. Great to see you. Out here in the summer garden with anemones that should not even be flowering. And you know, it's so dry up here and these are shade plants, but they're so tough, they survive in spite of everything. Oh, there is something I want to show you. Apart from the tail end of the hydrangeas, which are lovely. There we go, now you can see. But there's something I want to show you over here. This is another New Zealand native, which you can't see because it's in the shade. But now you can see it. It's slightly past its best. But it's here, you can see the same shape in the flowers, and this bush just covers itself. You can see there's a lot of these flowers are finished and you've got seed heads. But I love this one. The name in the indigenous language is kamahi, and it's beautiful, and the bush gets quite big. There's actually two of them there. You can see the second one at the back, but it just looks like an extension of the first. What else have we got? A few lavender flowers and some golden chamomile that's nearly finished. I spent some time up there weeding 2 days ago. There's more hebe flowers here. So it's kind of the ragtag end of the flowering season. Everything's drying up and slowing down, and that's what you expect. Just like plants go to sleep in the winter in the temperate zones, they also tend to stop doing much except conserve water when summer comes. So there you go. That's what's happening here. And I think we'll live with the wind. So I want to talk about, it's really an extension of Friday's conversation, and it's a conversation that's not far from many people's minds one way or another, either because of something that each person is facing or because of someone they know who's facing a health condition. It happens, we have physical bodies, and apparently they get sick, right? And the first thing is, you know, I mean, we many of us have been programmed with the idea that you get sick because that's just what happens, or you have a genetic thing that runs in your family and you're going to get it, and there's stuff all you can do. And what I know now from my own reading and also from my own practical experience of changing my own physicality day by day, slowly, but step by step, and getting real results, is that that's not true. We actually have the ability to change how our genes express themselves. Now, let me briefly explain for the uninitiated, and perhaps for the initiated too, because there are things that I've heard 10 times over, and the 11th time something clicks and I go, ooh, I didn't see that before. How that works. At least my understanding and my present state of ignorance about how that works. And believe me, I'm mostly ignorant. It's just that I read people who research this stuff. Let's be honest, this one person is Dr. Joe Dispenza. One of these days I'm going to read a book by somebody else, but right now that's just the channel I'm tuned to. So this is what I understand about how we, moment to moment, day to day, to week, to month, to year, to a lifetime, and even lifetimes if you want to get like that, change how our genes express themselves. So every time you think a thought, there are neurotransmitters that have to help that thought go from neuron to neuron to cross the synaptic gap. That's what neurotransmitters do. You cannot have a thought without neurotransmitters. Those neurotransmitters, there's many different kinds. Many people are familiar with serotonin, which is the one that you don't have enough of when you're depressed. Melatonin, which is the one that helps you go to sleep. GABA, which is a relaxing one. Acetylcholine, that you get a ton of if you're really pissed off, but you also need it to be wakeful, I believe. Dopamine, which is the pleasure chemical, and oxytocin, which is just, you feel love. Those are neurotransmitters. Actually, no, oxytocin's a hormone. Sort it out. Down the stream. So, but all those other ones are neurotransmitters. You cannot have a thought without some neurotransmitter crossing the synaptic space for you. That's what they do. And depending on the frequency of your thought, you get neurotransmitters, different ones. So you don't get the same neurotransmitters for a happy thought as you do for a sad one. You don't get the same neurotransmitters for a controlling thought as for a free one. You get the idea. Different batch of chemicals every time you have a thought. That's the thought I want you to have, to understand. Then those neurotransmitters trigger a downward cascade of chemistry that starts in your emotional brain and ends up in your hormonal centers through neuropeptides and hormones, and you have a feeling. And that feeling is made of chemistry. And that chemistry fits into receptors on the surface of your cells. And there are thousands of receptors on each frickin' cell, which is just mind-blowing, really. I think I got that. Yeah, there's thousands of them. And they're not little fixed structures. They're alive, they're moving. They are proteins, quite big protein molecules. And they actually function on resonance more than they function on chemistry. But when there is a resonant match between that receptor and a chemical that matches it, chemical docks in, and the receptor changes its shape, and the message that chemical that's come to the cell and connected with the receptor is carrying goes into the cell and instructs the DNA in the cell, and instructs the DNA in the cell about what protein to replicate. And that's about where what I know runs out, because I'm thinking, what proteins? But this is what I do know, is that your body is a protein-producing machine, and every single cell in your body is made of protein, and every single cell in your body, except for red blood cells, expresses and creates proteins. Christine, great to see you! And the expression of proteins, to directly quote Joe Dispenza, because this is such a good quote, is the expression of life. If you express healthy proteins, you're going to have a healthy body. If you express crappy proteins, you're going to have an unhealthy body. So how do you go from being young and vital, as most of us do, to being older and not vital? Well, there's the thing about genes. They can wear out. I'm not going to go there or I'll run out of time. If you keep having the same thoughts, the same chemistry, the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same chemistry, hitting that same receptor over and over and over and over and over and over again, long story short, genes actually wear out. They get tired. It's like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy on a photocopier. Sooner or later, it's going to get blurry and it doesn't work so well. But the thing about us is that we only express 1.5% of our DNA, which means there's a ton of other DNA that people have called, the scientists used to call it junk DNA. But Joe's theory, and I have to say from experience this seems to be true, is that is untapped potential that we have in ourselves. It's latent. It's ready to be woken up. So how do you wake it up? Well, it turns out you have to have a different thought to have a different neurotransmitter, to have a different feeling, to have a different experience in your body as a human being, and then that is going to send a different instruction to your cells. Zella, it's great to see you. You know, the interesting thing is, it doesn't matter what you eat or what you do, what your lifestyle is. It turns out, because there are people who do that, and I'm not saying that it's bad that you do it, Zella. It's great, good for you, following that path because it's right for you. But there are people who choose, I've got to eat this and not eat that, and they're so stressed about it, they're so rigid about it, that all the thoughts and things that they're thinking about their food are fearful and rigid, and that sends a fearful and rigid signal to the cells. So you can be eating the most organic and fabulous and wonderful food in the world, and if you're scared about it, Mimi, it's great to see you, honey. Bernadette, good morning. Then that is the signal that you're sending to your cells. It kind of doesn't matter what food you're eating. I mean, it does, right? I eat good food. I totally buy into that. I do not like eating crap. But how you think about it and feel about it is also really important. That's the point I'm trying to make. If you're stressed about your diet, you're creating organic stress. That's what he says. So, yeah, you have, and it is really hard to change those habitual thoughts because remember, they're so hardwired, and your body gets really accustomed to the chemistry of those thoughts. That's what you're pushing against, Bernadette. I know you understand this. It is really hard at the start to break that emotional, chemical, neurochemical addiction to being who you've been for all that time. Yeah, it is ridiculous, isn't it? You eat all this beautiful organic food and you're stressed about it, so you're creating organic stress. It's totally what happens. It's the truth. Oh my God. So, this is how we get stuck in who we are. This is why it's so challenging to change. And this is also how we program ourselves for disease. Because you wear out the genes, that's one way. And if you are constantly thinking and feeling stressful, sad, angry, resentful, I'm right and you're wrong, judgmental, resentful, whatever it is thoughts, you're constantly thinking just dark thoughts, thinking, oh, the world's a shitty place and I can't, I know it's going to crap on me and the next time I turn around. If you're constantly expecting rubbish, whatever habitual, all the time thoughts that you are thinking and feeling, those thoughts that are negative, all, without exception, are paired up with the hormones of stress, the glucocorticoids, cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline. See, I keep on learning. And these hormones, if we're constantly feeling those feelings and having those hormones rushing through our body, hi Jen, they wake you up. It's like, I'm ready to fight or flight now. But long term, they down-regulate gene expression. They push the buttons for disease. Now, why is that? Because when an organism needs to run away from a tiger or a lion, or a saber-toothed mother-in-law, or a scary boss, or whatever, it's taking its energy away from digesting food, from relaxing, from growing a baby, from maintaining the body, and it's putting all of that energy into being able to run like hell or fight for your life. It can't do both at the same time. So if you are thinking and feeling and behaving in ways that are about negative emotions and stress and all that stuff, you are long-term. Everybody can do it short-term. It's fine to react. The question is, how long do you stay in that state? Because if you stay in that state for a long time, you're going to push the buttons for disease. That's just the fact. No organism in nature can tolerate being in stress for a long, extended period of time. It makes you sick. And this is how. Because the hormones of stress, they dial up the immune system for a little while, because you need that when you're running from a lion, right? But if you can't get out of that stressful state, the immune system dials down. And if it keeps staying dialed down, well, you're going to get autoimmunity, you're going to get inflammation, whatever. You're going to get these chronic diseases. And at the same time, you're addicted to the stress hormones because it's who you are. I'm just a resentful, angry, sad, scared, whatever person. You just think it's who you are because it's so hardwired and you're really conditioned to feel that way. You're just, because it's so easy. Isn't it so easy, Bernadette, to think your old thoughts? I know you know what this is like. Jocelyn, good morning. And oh my God, just this morning, the morning and yesterday, I've started to be aware of a whole new aspect of myself. It's like, oh my God, I've got to stop thinking and behaving like that. It's just, such a freaking control freak. And it all comes from fear, right? That's all I'm going to say. It's not, because it's not about me. But this is how we do it. This is literally how we take ourselves from a state of health to a state of illness. And you can have, and I've listened to so many times, you know, and I keep listening because I learn so much from them. I've listened to so many people tell the stories of how they turned their lives around doing Dr. Joe Dispenza's work because, you know, I love this work. It's just the best part of my day and it helps me create everything else that's wonderful. And some of them were just having happy lives and perfectly fine. And then they had really stressful things happen and they got stuck in the stress for whatever reason. Either it was a really traumatic event or maybe, you know, they had someone they had to look after for a long period of time who was really sick and it was just excruciatingly stressful. Whatever. It pushed the genetic buttons for disease and suddenly they were in deep shit. Well, it wasn't suddenly, you know, they were just coping and then they get a cancer diagnosis or they get really depressed or whatever it is. And this is how it happens, literally how it happens. And so the way to turn it around is to realise first that is what is going on. That is the fact. This is science. I'm not making this shit up. And the rub is then, if you've been conditioning your body into fear or worthlessness or shame or guilt or whatever it is for the last however long, oh my God, you got to turn that battleship around. And it does take time. There's no question that it does take time, depending on who we are and how much time we put into changing ourselves, and circumstances have an impact on that. And it's very easy to beat up on yourself if your life is challenging and you can't just take 3 hours a day and do the work. But it's amazing what you can do if you really want to. It really is, because I know it, because people have done what they needed to do and they've changed amazing things. And some of them don't change it too. You know, it's like Joe says, we're continuing to learn. It's an inexact science. He's always evolving, and I've been observing him now to realise just how much he is continuing to evolve the model. He doesn't know everything. He just goes with great passion with what he knows at the point in time. And he's experimenting in the laboratory of his life to see if he can, you know, improve on it. And I find I'm doing the same thing now. But this basic understanding that you are not going to change your cellular expression, the way your DNA expresses, until you change your emotional state first. And second, you're going to have to do that for long enough to change how your cell is expressing DNA. How long is that? Well, I don't know. That's the piece that really gets a lot of us. It's like, you know, you do this process, you feel fantastic, and then you open your eyes and you think, well, shit, I'm still sick, or where's my money, or where's my lover, or whatever it is. You think, well, that didn't work. Well, yeah, it did. While you were in that state, you were giving your body a taste, a future sampling of the future that you want to make real. Remember that. That's the first success. Every time you, in some small measure, change your emotional state, you're giving your body different chemistry. Oh my God! You're starting to turn the ship around. But you have to do that for long enough. I mean, you think about it. Most of us were born with quote-unquote normal bodies. Some of us not. Heather! Good morning, sweetie! So, assuming for a moment, I'm talking about generalities. Please excuse me if this is not you. You have healthy gene expression. And most of us do. 1 to 5% of illness is truly genetic. The rest of it is us altering our epigenetic expression. So, how long did it take you banging on the cell's wall, knocking on that genetic door, that receptor with your stress and fearful, you know, thoughts and chemistry to create your disease? So what if it also was going to take time to uncreate your disease in the same way? It's just you're conscious of it. Abigail, good morning. Yeah, and oh my God, Bernadette, I so get it. You wouldn't believe it. One of the things that I have actually noticed in the last few days, but it's been bubbling under the surface forever, is, oh my God, what am I going to get sick of? And I said this, I notice a little twinge, and immediately my brain is going, oh, is it this, is it that? So I have to stop being that person. This person that is so afraid of bodies. So at sea, so I don't trust bodies. They're not strong. Whatever. There's all this bullshit that goes on. And how long have I been thinking and feeling those thoughts unconsciously? Because who knows why I decided that bodies were frightening things and not safe to be in. Who knows? Don't care. See, it doesn't matter why. See, I haven't, I know the words say something. It just doesn't matter why. But because who cares? What's important is I have to start imagining now, oh my God, how it feels to feel confident in my body and confident in the bodies of other people that I care about who are doing their own work to change themselves, that they can create their healing, and I don't have to try every day to make it happen faster and better because they're not going to do it properly or well or before they die. These are the kinds of nutty thoughts that are going on in my head. Now, what sort of chemistry is that sending to my body? Jojo, good morning. It's great to see you. This is just such a huge thing, and it doesn't, I'm out of time, it doesn't stop because I really have started to master myself, and I am moving in myself every day as much as I can into my own expression of mastery because I want to live that for lots of reasons. Doesn't matter why. It's what I'm doing. And the more I do it, the more of this deep stuff that isn't that comes up, and I recognize it because I'm more and more embodying who I want to be. And then it's like, oh my God, this is my next little thing to pay attention to and notice and go, oh shit, I've been doing this so much. Never seen it before, maybe a few days ago. Never noticed it. This is completely new. Something that's come up out of the murk that I now get to change in the same way as you are changing yourself. It's just I'm a bit better at it now. I got better tools and I'm better at using those tools. So that's what I wanted to explain. This is literally how we do it, and it is literally how we can undo it. But you got to understand it's a process that took you a long time, probably, to create where you're at. So it's going to take some work and some time and some believing in yourself more than what you can see and smell and taste and touch and feel and everything else in here. That's the dance, and that's why a lot of people don't hang in there because they think, oh, well, I did this thing and it was great, but nothing happened, so therefore it didn't work. Yeah, it did. You just got to do it more. You got to knock on the door of the cell until a different receptor opens up. Until the cell changes its morphology and makes more receptors for love than for fear. Literally, that's what has to change. So, yeah, self-mastery is amazing. And it doesn't matter what small bite of the chocolate bar you get, the more you get, and you get better at it. Alright, I know I'm out of time. I could go on about this for ages. I love this topic because it's what I'm living. And it's a daily dance, but the wonderful thing for me is every day I get to go into the unified field and create myself a little bit more who I want to be, and sometimes the shit that comes up is really deep, really scary. I cry, I scream into pillows because I don't want the neighbours to think that somebody's being murdered. I kid you not. But it comes out of my body because it's stuck there. And then I'm freer. And I'm more who I'm choosing to be and less who I've been. That's my journey, and I know it's yours. And, oh my God, I remember the notices. I haven't remembered the beginning yet. I'm going to put up my holiday slideshow video today. So keep an eye out for it. I'll probably rave about it for a little while longer. But look out for that because it's lovely. It's lovely. I took some great pictures, and this is the first year you don't get to miss out on all the things that flower in those 3-4 weeks. So, big love. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.